one of the things about the devil that I've always found so fascinating, in terms of my own experience of the pattern of energy of the devil when it manifests in my life, is something that we of course associate with the demonic, which is this notion of possession, right? Whenever I have a powerful experience of the devil in my own life, when it's come up in a reading and I've seen it manifest in myself or in others, it's always been this phenomenon of possession, which is to say a sense that an extremely powerful emotion streams into our being and essentially grabs the steering wheel, that grabs control of our actions, of our words, of our thoughts, and begins acting through us. It's as if for a period of time we lose control over our own freedom, our own volition, our own agency, and instead this powerful emotion, let's say anger, comes up, or extreme hatred, or maybe envy. That's a really powerful one for me. Sometimes envy or jealousy comes in, and it seems to just take control, starts running my mind, or starts running the situation, starts running what I say, or how I react, or how I see things. And this is quite obvious in the case of powerful negative emotions. And this is one of the reasons that the devil, of course, is the significator of vice. It's in the majors, it's the quintessential image of the passions, of those deluded states of mind, those neurotic forces in our psyche, or those shadowy elements in our psyche, which somehow can take control of us and blind us, while at the same time acting through us, acting out their intentions through us, right? And you see this happening at large in the world. Not only are we able to be possessed by powerful emotions, but in fact we can become possessed powerfully by ideologies. We see all these ideologies rising up all over the globe, and we often see this online as well. People speaking, spewing forth stuff, and it's as if they're not even speaking of their own agency. There is this propaganda that's coming through them, that they're just repeating sound bites. They're just repeating this ideology, whether it's a religious ideology or a political ideology or a social ideology of some sort. But it's as if they no longer have the ability to think freely. They instead are just merely running this script, and it's kind of pouring out of them. So it's possible to become completely possessed by an ideological position as well. One of the great symptoms for me when this happens in myself, when I become really gripped in the energy of the devil, is the sense of self-righteousness that comes over me. I feel so righteous in my hatred. I feel so righteous in my anger, or so righteous in my indignation. And there is a sense of a fanaticism there. And the irony about it, of course, is that the devil, the archetype of the devil, the energy in the devil, is most clearly visible in religious fundamentalists, right? When you see a religious fundamentalist who is profoundly convinced, who's absolutely sure of themselves, who's filled with this certainty of their position, that they're not even speaking their own thoughts. They just seem to be repeating this script that they've been programming. This ideology is just pouring straight through them. And of course, you get the same thing with political ideologies. You see people online or in real life, maybe relatives or whatever, when you're interacting with them, and they're so possessed by this ideology that they just seem to be running these programs, these scripts that they say certain things. There are certain cadences of speech, certain formulae that they spit out, and you recognize these formulae because you've heard them before, and other people who are similarly possessed or repeat these same things. And again, there's the sense that you're not even dealing with this person. You're not being confronted with a person. You're being confronted with this ideology, whether it's a fanatical religious system or a fanatical political ideology that temporarily seems to possess this person, and it's somehow steering them like a puppet. We have the two figures there, and they're chained. They have no autonomy. They're kind of like they're like dogs on a leash. And you see this, of course, and you see this with people who end up murdering or something, doing some terrible act of terrorism. It's really as if they no longer have any control over themselves, and it's just this force which is rightly almost understood to be demonic, because it is so shadowy, it is so unconscious. There is so much blindness that comes with that state of possession, that it's impossible to reason with this person, impossible to have a rational discussion, being able to resort to reason, because none of the social conventions that we have to moderate that kind of thing in a reasonable way seem to be functioning in a space with that person when they are possessed in that way, because they believe with certitude that they are right and you are wrong. And of course, with that certitude comes every extreme from you deserve to be silenced to you deserve to be killed or punished, or whatever the case may be. And of course, in contrast with that, in the majors we have the temperance card, right? So we have the angel and we have the devil. And the temperance card, of course, is the quintessential pattern of self-control. It is when, in fact, we are able to master those impulses, those blind forces that have a way of possessing our psyche or running the show, whether it is the impulse to drink too much, or to overeat, or any of the more common venal kind of vices that we might associate with the temperance shown in the temperance card, which with the self-control, the moderation that is suggested by the temperance card. But of course, moderation, and self-control is in fact true autonomy. It is true freedom when you're able to not be controlled by your desires, when you're free to choose whether to react to a lustful instinct or an angry impulse, whether it's to eat, sex, or whatever the case is, until you kind of you can almost annihilate yourself with that impulse, where it goes to the far extreme. The ability to, in fact, to choose to be free from the possession of that state is in fact true freedom. It is true autonomy. It is in fact your angelic nature that is able to stay in the driver's seat of your soul and in your life, and help you choose. And of course, this applies to religious ideologies or political ideologies and so on. Whatever ideology or belief that you subscribe in, the ability to not drink your own Kool-Aid, to not buy into your own marketing material, as it were, and to partake of that belief system as a tool, as a vehicle towards moving to the greater good, with a sense of a light touch and a sense of freedom, a sense of being able to temper it and moderate that so that it doesn't go to the extreme, so that a religious belief doesn't become a fundamentalist doctrine where you end up doing all sorts of extreme things in the name of this belief, which ultimately runs contrary to its fundamental principle. or whether it is a political belief that ultimately, turns into something hideously monstrous and so on. There is the sense of having some sort of ability to temper it, to have some freedom, to not be gripped by any particular set of beliefs, any thought pattern, any emotional impulse that could possibly take control and act through us, robbing us of our freedom, robbing us of our individuality, but instead making us a vessel for this other more shadowy force, whether it is a belief system or whether it is an impulse, an animalistic impulse, an addiction, or a powerful negative emotion like anger or hatred, anything like that. We are all susceptible to this state of possession where we lose our freedom. And typically for me, the one of the great hallmarks of that, the little warning bell that goes off in my psyche, is whenever I have this extreme sense of self-righteousness, when I feel so right in my position and the other person is so absolutely wrong that I am justified, any course of action is justified, saying anything is justified, and so on. This for me is very much a hallmark of that kind of the energy of the devil. So I just I had this thought this morning. I drew this card today in relation to a topic, and this came to my mind, the importance of this card, and of course the importance of seeing these two cards as kind of the mirror of the one, the mirror of the side of the other, the one being the devil and the other being the angel, the one being complete freedom, the ability to not be driven by powerful emotions, ideologies, or beliefs ultimately, and on the other hand, the absolute submission to and in fact enslavement by a powerful negative emotion, a powerful religious ideology or political ideology, to the extent where you in fact have you have no capacity to think freely, you have no capacity to articulate or to relate to the world through any other lens than that.